Well, we're finishing up our series tonight called In the Zone. Someone say in the zone. In the zone. Yeah, that's right. In the zone, right. We're going to do in the zone. We're talking about being in the zone. So we use that phrase in different things. I use it in sports when someone's playing like really good, they're in the zone. If you've been to Hurricane Harbor and you've been to the kiddie section, I don't know if y'all know the kid section, there's this spot where there's this big bucket, like it's huge bucket, and it fills up with water, and then once it gets completely full, it like tilts and it dumps. Have y'all seen this thing? Some of you know? Okay, even if you've never seen it, you get the idea. Here's the thing. If you are under the splash zone, you get wet, okay? You can be at the side, you're not going to get wet, but there's a place where it dumps in the zone, in the splash zone. Now, we're talking about a zone, and the zone, what is the zone? The zone is the blessed place, okay? It's just a thing I made up, okay? It's not in the Bible, that term, the zone. I just made it up, okay? But the blessed place is a real thing. So we want to be in the zone, okay? In the zone, which is in the blessed place. In the place, think of it like the splash zone, except the bucket is God's blessings, and you're standing underneath his blessings, okay? And they don't just dump periodically. He's a blessing God. He wants to bless us, and so we want to be where he's blessing. So in the zone, you can imagine the big bucket is above me right here, dumping right here, okay? And I want to be in the zone. So the zone is the blessed place. So what does it mean to be blessed? We've been talking about that every week. If you want to be in the blessed place, you need to know what it means to be blessed. Is it like being lucky, okay? Is lucky and blessed the same? In fact, one of you is really lucky right now, and you don't even know it, because under your chair, one of you has a gift card. If you look, it's taped to the bottom of one of your chairs. They're all looking. The one who has it hasn't found it yet. She's still looking. She's still looking. She's found it. Could you get it off? There it is. All right, so she won the $10 gift card to Chick-fil-A because Christian chicken. All right, now some of you are like, lucky, okay? Why didn't I sit in that chair? Okay, now is she lucky or is she blessed? Like, I don't know. Is she lucky or is she blessed? Is it the same thing? Do you know? Okay, so let's talk about what we're saying blessed is, because I don't think lucky and blessed are the same thing. Maybe she's blessed, maybe she's lucky. You can talk to God about that. But I can tell you what blessed is. Okay, to be blessed means to be on the receiving end of the tangible and intangible favor of God. Now, this is kind of a weird definition, and you're like, I don't even know what half those words mean, so we'll refresh them again. Tangible is stuff that you can touch. Your neighbor's tangible. Chick-fil-A's tangible. Okay, if you can touch it, if you can smell it, if you can see it with your eyeballs, it's tangible. Y'all know what tangible is? Yes. Okay, so God blesses us with real things. He blesses the real things in our life. We said it, matters to God, okay? The real things he blesses. He also blesses intangible. And I don't know about you, but I think intangible is even more important than tangible. Intangible, let me tell you, joy is not tangible, it's intangible. But you want joy. Peace is intangible. Love is intangible. Passion is intangible. But those are good things to have God's blessing on. So he blesses. It's receiving the tangible and intangible favor of God. So that is having God's favor on these things in our life. So you can either be in the blessed place where we're receiving his favor on our life, right? The blessed place in the zone, or what we call the land of Ing, okay? And if you've been here every week, you're like, I've heard this 2 times already. This is the 3rd, but some people weren't here. So the land of Ing, the Ing is this, okay? This is where you're working, studying, trying, going, driving, earning, spending, okay, all of the Ings in life. And out here in the land of Ing, everything relies on me. It's my ability, my skills. If I mess up, too bad. It's all on me. So what we want to be is in the blessed place. Because in the blessed place, he puts his bless on your ing, okay? It's not that we don't study in the blessed place. You still study or you fail, okay? But he puts his blessing on your studying. Does that make sense? It's not, someday you will date, okay? And what you need, though, is his blessing on your dating. That way your next one isn't such a disaster, okay? You need his blessing on your studying, your working, your earning, I almost said gaming. Does he bless gaming? Dear Lord, please bless my Fortnite, because it's terrible. Right? No, my name is Pastor Jonathan on there, and I did that so people could find me real easy, Pastor Jonathan with no space. But I was thinking about how funny it is, like when I kill people, it says, "You've been killed by Pastor Jonathan." Like, I just got killed by a pastor. Like, I didn't even know. Okay, are they allowed to play? I don't know. Anyways, but he blesses the tangible and intangible, those things in our life. We want to see God's blessing on those parts of our life. You want to see those areas blessed. How about your earnings and like when you make money someday, you're like, money, that would be nice. You would like to see his blessing on those things. So the question is, are we zoned in or are we zoned out? Are you in the blessed place? Is he blessing your life? Are you seeing God's favor on those areas, or are you out? Are you not being blessed? So we talked about two things to be in the blessed place. We talked about that we are in his blessing when we are trusting. When we are trusting in God, then we are blessed. It says, blessed is he who trusts in God. It's not that we trust in ourselves. We don't trust in our abilities. Those may be great. You may be awesome. But you can still trust in God. We put our trust in him. When we're trusting, then we move into the blessing. Begins with trusting. But it didn't stop there, right? Because last week we talked about trusting doesn't really matter very much if you don't obey. So we have to be obeying. If we say, okay, I believe he says I should do this, then we should do it. And it's through that, it's when we are obeying that we move into the blessed place. So I'll give you an example. About 6 months ago, AJ, y'all know AJ. Where's he at? There he is. Okay. AJ came to me and he said, I want to start trusting and obeying God in my finances. And the reason he did was because he was broke, okay? He was over $1,500, $1,500, more than that in credit card debt, okay? He owed his parents a bunch of money. And did y'all see his car? I mean, like, the junkyard would be like, no thanks, okay? It was a piece of junk, okay? He hasn't had air conditioning in over a year. It's 115 degrees outside. He's rolling with the window down, all right? Like, a piece of junk car, okay, all this. This is where he was 6 months ago. And I asked him if I could say this, okay? So he was in a bad place financially. And so he came to me and said, I want to know. And so we talked about the principles in God's word, things it says about saving. And then I told him, we talked about tithing. Now, tithing is where you give 10%, the first 10% of your income to God. So whatever you make, you give it to God. And so I said, you need to start tithing. He goes, yeah, I know I need to start tithing. But here's the thing, when you're broke, oh, by the way, he's also trying to pay for school, like a little at a time. He's like making it all through the semester. He was literally at the end of every week or month, whenever he gets paid, it was gone. He knew where it was all going. There was nothing left. So now I'm saying, I need you to put some of it in savings, which you didn't have, and I need you to give 10% of it to God first. Well, I don't have that. But he decided to make some adjustments. He stopped going out to eat. He did some different things, and he started doing that. Now, 6 months later, his credit card is completely paid off. He's out of that, all of that debt. All of it's gone. You paid for school just up front. Yeah, just paid for it. Didn't have to do the little monthly plan, all that kind of stuff. Just paid for it. Totally, now he's got savings, and he's got a new car. We got it yesterday, right? Or 2 days ago. It's nice, okay? It's nicer than mine. What the heck? Okay, now, he would tell you that the blessed place is real. And that trusting and obeying works, even when it doesn't make sense. Because, I mean, nobody would say, yeah, you're broke, you're in credit card debt, you should give 10% away. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Like, no one would think that, but he moved into the blessed place. He began to obey God and shape his life around what God says, and he began to see blessing. So what we need to do is we look at our lives and we go, is there some area where I am not trusting and obeying and lining my life up with that? We mentioned dating. Some of your dating life is a mess. You're in debt dating. I don't know. It's like you go from one disaster to another disaster, and it's because you have never said, wait, does God actually talk about this? Like how I should handle my body and what I should do and who I should be with and all that kind of stuff. Does he talk about that? Maybe we should. When it comes to our studying and our working and all these different things, have we thought about trusting and obeying? If we do, if you will, you'll enter the blessed place. Now, I want you to understand something about God. We talk about obeying. It's not like if you obey, you convince God to bless, okay? He wants to bless you. In fact, I like to think of him as a blesser, okay? He is a blesser. So think of it like this. Let's say this is God and he's blessing. And so this is God. Okay, and this is you, okay? Now, if I'm sitting here like, why am I not receiving the blessing? Why am I not receiving the blessing, people? I'm in the wrong place. Okay. The blessed place. This is not, I need this water. I'm coughing so bad. I'm in the blessed place, okay? Now, you begin to disobey. Y'all have never seen water before? You begin to disobey, and you're thinking, why isn't God blessing me? You're in the wrong place. Listen, it's through trusting and through obeying that we begin to be in the blessed place. God wants to bless. He just blesses. This is what he does. But through obedience and through trusting, you put yourself in the blessed place. And then when I say, you know what, I don't care how you say it today, I'm going to do it my own way, you begin to live outside of his blessing. Okay. Y'all are like having a panic attack because it's water. Okay. Do you want to live in the blessed place? Are you in the blessed place? That's something you need to think about, because I can guarantee you, if you have chosen to disobey God in some area of your life, he is not blessing that area of your life. And it actually overflows into other things. Because I can tell you, as AJ has begun to obey God in that area, other areas have been blessed. Am I yes? He's shaking his head, 100%. And I could do that over and over again in my life and in other people's lives. As they begin to obey God and trust him in one area, God is not like, well, I'll only bless that now. No, he blesses us. He blesses us. So we want to find ways to trust and obey. So we're going to tack one more thing onto this. It's actually not something in addition to, it's something that enhances these two. Because this is, there are a lot of things we could talk about of us blessing, but this is where we want to focus through this series. And so I want to help you understand one more thing about trusting and obeying. Because if we can get these down, your life will be different. This will be your most blessed school year, okay, that you've ever had, if you can get these things down. So we want to understand those and get better. And so here we go. We're going to talk about one more thing that we need. And we're going to look in the book of James first, so James chapter 1, and he tells us something about being blessed. He says, blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him. Blessed is the one who perseveres. Someone say perseveres. Okay, what does persevere mean? Persevere means to continue on even when it's difficult. To keep going when it's difficult. So this is not the impression I want to give you. If you'll just trust and obey, your whole life is going to be easy peasy, lemon squeezy, okay? That's not the idea. I'm not saying that there's never going to be difficulty, there's never going to be trial, there's never going to be trouble. In fact, that's probably the opposite. There's going to be those things, and sometimes it won't be easy to trust, and sometimes it won't be easy to obey, but the blessing comes when we persevere, we keep going, we keep trusting, we keep obeying, even in difficulty, even when it is not easy. So if I wanted to bulk up, like, there's a long ways I could go in that area, okay? If I wanted to gain some muscle, what would I need to do? Did no one say lift weights? I heard okay, thank you, lift weights. You'll need to learn. What do I need to do? Okay, he knows. Okay, look at that. All right, let me grab this. I forgot to get it out there. Okay, so this is a light one because I ain't swole. Okay, so if I was to take this and I was like, okay, I'm going to start lifting weights. One. That was a great workout. I am done. Now, I did what I was supposed to do. I lifted weights. Okay, but the change happens when you get to the difficult place and you keep going. So, you could start lifting the weight, right? And at first it's easy, okay, especially if you're using a light weight. It's really easy. And then what happens is after a little while, it'll get hard, right? Now, if as soon as it gets hard, you're like, okay, done, you're not doing anything. You've got to get to where it's hard and then go again. And then go again. And you push through the hard. It's once you get to the difficult place and you go past that, that's when the body starts to change. That's when you start to grow. Now, I say it like that because some of us were like, oh yeah, I'll obey God. And then it gets hard. Okay, I'm done. I obeyed him for a little while. And then we quit. That's not how you go into the blessed place. If you want to be in the blessed place, you've got to persevere even when it gets hard. You got to keep going even when it gets hard. So, let's talk about persevering just a little bit. in James chapter 5, he talks about the exact same thing again, gives us a little more information. As you know, we consider blessed those who have persevered. So he's like, okay, we talked about this a minute ago. People that have persevered when it's been difficult and they kept going, we consider those people blessed. Then he gives us an example. He says, you have heard of Job's perseverance. So he's talking to some people that have heard about Job, maybe you have, and seen what the Lord finally brought about. How many have heard of Job? Anybody? Okay, so there's a guy named Job in the Bible. It's wet over here. You know what happened? Okay. There's a guy named Job, okay? It's in the book of Job, not Job, okay? I heard about a guy who got saved, and he's like, someone told me I need to read the Bible, so he goes, okay. And he just looks in there, and he's like, I don't know where to start. I do need a job, so I'll start with that book, okay? And so he didn't find out how to get a job. It's about a guy named Job. So this is what happens to Job. Job's a good guy. He's going along. And I just want to read you a little of what happens. Sorry, I have my throat is all messed up. Okay. One day, when Job's sons and daughters were feasting and drinking wine at the oldest brother's house, a messenger came to Job and said, the oxen were plowing and the donkeys were grazing nearby, and the Sabeans, so some people, attacked and carried them off. They put the servants to the sword, which means they killed them with the sword, okay? And I'm the only one who has escaped to tell you. So he's like, hey, you know your donkeys and your animals? Yeah, they're stolen. And you know your guys who are working for you? Yeah, they're dead. Okay, and then listen. While he was still speaking, so he's still telling him what was happening, another messenger came and said, the fire of God fell from the sky and burned up the sheep and the servants, and I'm the only one who escaped you. I think he probably didn't really know what happened. There was some fire, and he was like, that must be from God. And so it's like, and it came, you know your sheep? Yeah, they're dead. You know your servants? Yeah, they're dead. Now listen. While he was still speaking, another messenger came. The Chaldeans formed 3 raiding parties, swept down on your camels, and carried them off. And they put your servants to the sword. I don't know why they always have to kill the poor little servants. They're like, just take the camels. Okay, but so they killed all of your camels too. While he was still speaking, okay? Like this is a bad couple minutes in this guy's life. While they were still speaking, another messenger came and said, your sons and daughters were feasting and drinking wine in the oldest brother's house, when suddenly a mighty wind swept in from the desert, struck the 4 corners of the house, and it collapsed on them, and they are dead. And I'm the only one who's escaped to tell you. How convenient that one guy survived each time. But anyways, now, there's not another while you were still speaking. Now, this is a bad moment, okay? And I don't think we relate, because most of you don't have camels and things. And I was trying to think of, but I couldn't think of anything quite as bad. It's like if you were here right now, and someone walked in, ran up to you, and they said, hey, somebody they stole your car, okay, and killed your dog. And yeah. And while he was still speaking, somebody else came in and said, oh, dude, your house caught on fire. The whole thing is gone. All your clothes, all your stuff, everything is completely gone. And while he was still speaking, someone else came and said, somebody hacked into your bank account. All your parents' money's gone. All your money's gone. Everything is gone. You are broke. You have no house. And while he was still speaking, another person came in and said, oh, and then your rest of your family was in the car accident. You're the only one left. That's what happened to Job. Okay? Then he fell on the ground in worship. Now that's amazing to me. Okay? He hears all of this, and what is his reaction? To worship God. Job's trust in God stayed. Now, then there's 41 chapters of Job trying to figure this thing out. He's like, why God? And God's like, here you go, let me talk about this. And his friends are like, just curse God, and die and all this. And Job, though, he continues to trust. He perseveres in his faith in God, even through what has got to be the most craziest of circumstances. And this is at the end of his life. The Lord blessed the latter part of Job's life more than the first. And it talks about all this money and animals and all this that he had. And he also had 7 sons and 3 daughters. Nowhere, and this is interesting information it just decided to give us, nowhere in the land were there found women as beautiful as Job's daughters. So he had good-looking daughters, okay? And after this, Job lived 140 years, and he saw his children and their children to the 4th generation, so his great-great-grandkids. And so he died, and old and full of years. So this is the thing. So he persevered in his trust and his faith, and God turned it around and blessed him. And he saw blessing. Why? Because he persevered in faith and in trust, and he did not give that up. And I'm telling you this because if you begin to trust and you give up, the first time something hard happens in your life, you will miss out on the blessing that God has on the other side. You have to persevere in your faith. Some of you have made decisions, I'm going to do it, I'm going to go after God, and then something happened. Just one thing happened, and you said, I'm done, I give up. And you miss out on what he wanted to do and the healing and the blessing that he wanted to bring in your life. If you want to be blessed, you got to persevere through the hard things, through the things in life. We got to persevere like Job. Now, Jesus tells us about one other thing that happens, and this is really weird, okay? Sometimes you will suffer and have to persevere through it because you're a Christian. Like, only if you weren't a Christian, it wouldn't even happen to you. If you weren't trying to serve God, if you weren't doing what God said, you wouldn't have suffered. Okay, this is what Jesus says about it, okay? He says, blessed are you when people insult you. No, okay, it doesn't feel that way. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you. Why? Because of me. He says you're blessed in that when people are persecuting you because of your faith. Now, I know this has happened to some of you because I've had the conversations. I talked to a guy who was being made fun of on a regular basis from some people on his team because he wasn't sleeping with his girlfriend. And they just made fun of him for it because he had made this decision. He was going to obey God in that area of his life, and they didn't get that, and so they made fun of him. Some of you have been made fun of. You've been put down. You've been left out of something. They didn't invite you because of your faith or whatever, and you've experienced that before. Where you were insulted, you were persecuted, you were left out, you had different things happen to you. Why? Because of Jesus, because you have decided to follow him. Now, and that's not going to happen with everything we do because we follow God. It's not like everything I do for Jesus is going to lead to persecution, okay? Peter talks about this, but right before it, he says, who's going to harm you if you're eager to do good? So most of the time, I'm doing good for God, I'm living for God, I'm being kind to people. I mean, like, most people aren't like, you're kind, I hate you. Okay, that's not the way it usually works. Okay, most of the time, it leads to good things when we live for God. Okay? But, he says, even if you should suffer for what is right, you are blessed. Even if you suffer for what is right, you're still blessed. Do not fear what they fear. Do not be frightened. Let me tell you what most people your age are frightened of or afraid of. They're afraid that they're going to get left out. They're afraid that they're going to get made fun of. They're afraid that this group of people is not going to like them. They're going to start making fun of them. Is going to start putting them down. That they're going to be left alone. This is the fear. What do they call it? FOMO? I don't know. So there's a fear of missing out. We have that fear. And if you live in that fear, you won't persevere. Oh, I made a rhyme. I didn't mean to. Okay, if you live like that, you're not going to persevere. You're not going to obey. You're not going to trust. And you're going to miss out on the blessing. So here's why I tell you this. Because if you're not ready, when it comes, you're just going to quit. And I don't want you to quit. And when somebody comes and you hear somebody make fun of you because of your faith, you know what it should do? It should embolden you and strengthen you instead of making you feel beat down like I want to quit. You should stand up and say, I know I'm blessed now. Because I just got persecuted for what I believe in. And Jesus said, if that happens to me, I'm blessed. And you should stand up and be strong because of it. We are blessed when we obey and when we trust. But you have to be willing to persevere, even if it gets difficult, even if you get made fun of, even if you're the only one in your entire group, you have to be willing to persevere. I know what this is like. I know that where you live because I'm a person too, okay? I just have a microphone. When I was a freshman in college, I went through a season where I basically had one friend, okay? It was like a low friend time. And the reason was most everybody I knew was just crazy, okay? They're drinking and they're doing these things and doing all this, and it was not the lifestyle I wanted to live, and so I just didn't hang out with people and went home and played a video game or something. I don't know. I went through a season was like that. Now, that changed. See, I was faithful to God and faithful to what I knew was right. And within like a year or so, I actually remember, I walked into my apartment. I remember having these thoughts. I walked in, and there was like 20 people just hanging out. And I thought, I have too many friends. Where are all these people? Because every single day I would go home and there would be all these people just hanging out at my place. And I was like, why are all these people always here? And I had too many friends. God blessed, okay? I saw, and man, the most of my college time was so great. And I tell you, though, it wouldn't have been that way if I would have just pursued all that other stuff, because those people would have never become my friends, because I wouldn't have been who I was supposed to be. You have to be willing to pursue, live for Him, persevere, even if it's difficult, even if you feel alone, even if it's hard. When I first took the job here 10 years ago, some of you know I was a band director, and I loved being a band director. It was tons of fun. I mean, that's what I went to college for, okay? And they asked me to come here. They needed a youth pastor, and so I said yes, and I hated it. I hated it most of the time. 90% of work, I hated it. I wanted to quit almost every week. Like, I would finish. So I would preach. I would come up, and, I mean, some of you don't pay attention. You got nothing on the first group that was here. There were 4 guys, and they would sit right by each other, like right around here, and before I would even get, like, halfway through the first 2 sentences, they're already asleep, okay? It's like, it was horrible. I hated it. I didn't want to be here. And I kept looking at other jobs, but what I kept doing was just coming back. By the way, sometimes that's what persevering is. Just keep going. Just keep obeying. Just take another step. Just do it one more time. Just pray again. Just pray again. Just read again. Just keep going. And I just kept doing. And now I feel like, man, what if I would have left? Like, I feel so blessed, and I love what I do, and I would get to know you guys, and I met my wife here. I mean, come on. I'd probably still be like a loner somewhere, okay? I lucked out by staying here, blessed out by staying here, okay? And God has done such great things, but it would never have happened without perseverance, without obeying what He had wanted me to do. In fact, if you feel blessed by Amplify, if Amplify has touched you in the last couple of years, it would not have happened had I not persevered. See, now He's blessed me to be a blessing, and He will do the same with you. What do you need to persevere in? What is it that God has told you to do that you have not just kept on, you have not continued in? What is it that He's told you to knock off, and you knock it off for like 2 weeks, and then you just hop back on the bandwagon and keep going? What do we need to persevere in? If you can do it, if you will do it, you will begin to live in the blessed place. So tonight what we're going to do is we're going to end with a time of prayer, because school started and all that's going on, and some of you are stressed out, you're worried, you don't feel blessed, and you need to agree with somebody and pray with somebody. So what we're going to do is we're going to have just a short time. There'll be people at the back of the room to pray with you. I'm going to pray over everybody. We're going to stand and we'll sing a song together. And during that time, if you need prayer, just walk to the back of the room. Let somebody pray with you. Let them believe for the blessing of God on your life. Father, we love you and we thank you for your blessings and your goodness to us. I pray that you would give us all the courage and the strength to persevere, to keep going through difficulty, and to trust you and to obey you. We thank you for it in Jesus' name. Amen.